Hello, I'm Brian Vivier. I'm a historian of Middle Period China. I have a PhD in Chinese history from Yale University. Since finishing my PhD, I've become a librarian. I'm currently the Chinese Studies librarian at the University of Pennsylvania and also the coordinator for Area Studies collection. In the last year, I've had the great good fortune to win a Fulbright Fellowship to come back to Taiwan, where I'm affiliated with the History Department here at National Taiwan University. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about what I'm working on and give you some kind of introduction to my research. So when I started out thinking about history, I was very interested in understanding the past and specifically the pre-modern past. I was less interested in times that are like our own, and I was less interested in places that were like what I was most familiar with. And so, as I started to study, I became really interested in Asian history more broadly. And my first project was about foreign trade. I was interested in how things and people moved in and out of Song Dynasty China from the 10th to the 13th centuries, and how China was therefore connected with Southeast Asia, with Inner-Asia, and with Northeast Asia. So I'm here at NTU starting a second project. This is the first stage of it for me. What I'm really interested in are questions of information. So how did people in 10th to 13th century China know about their neighbors? How did they come to the information that they had? How did they record that? What kind of decisions did they make in terms of what to record? And how did they couch it? What were the selections that they made? And then what were the influences in doing that, social, political, or cultural, in recording what they saw around them? And then how did they transmit that information, both at the time, how did that information circulate among other Chinese people, and then what's the process by which that information has come to us? The core question is, people have some body of information. What are the decisions they make, and what do they do when they transmit that information? And then what are the implications for how we understand the past? I started coming to Taiwan 20 years ago, and I've been very fortunate that I've been here almost every year for the last 10. But I only ever get to come for about 2 weeks at a time. And obviously when I'm here, I try to meet with as many scholars as I can. I see what's been published and try to learn what's new.
Brian and I have known each other for more than 10 years. With the PhD study at Yale at the same time. Brian and I share the same kind of interest in issues related to cultural encounters, interactions, and exchanges between the Liao dynasty and its neighboring regimes. Brian is a historian working on historical texts such as scholar officials' writings. And I'm an art/cultural historian, and I'm more interested in looking at visual and material evidence, such as paintings or archaeological objects. It would be really wonderful if one day we can work together to combine our different specialties and interests.
A few years ago, I had the great opportunity to actually meet with Tao Jingsheng, who's one of the pioneering scholars in thinking about Song Dynasty connections with its northern neighbors. And that really helped inspire me to think about why I would want to be here for a longer period of time. There's a whole generation who's produced the foundational work on these questions that's come out of Taiwan, particularly National Taiwan University. So having had the chance to talk a bit about my research and what I'm doing on campus, it'd also be fun to show you a little bit about the rest of life here for me, some of the more recreational side of things and some of the things I enjoy. So of course I first came to Taiwan entirely because of academic reasons. The academic environment here was perfect for what I work on. The libraries and the scholars here are ideal for my work. But at the same time, life in Taiwan is really terrific. The quality of life here is very high, and the life here is very, very rich. So right now we're standing in the middle of one of the most exciting neighborhoods in Taiwan. I'm very lucky actually to get to live here right now. We're surrounded by some of the more interesting traditional markets, but also some of those modern boutiques.
也许是为了，然后3的话呢， 谢谢。
Oh, I'm really never running out of new things to taste and to try and to do. Another big thing here, we're actually just around the corner from the leading academic bookstore here in Taiwan, which has been supporting me for the last 20 years, and with whom I have a long-standing relationship, both as a scholar and as a librarian. And of course, there's just a lot to do in Taiwan. I have a really rich life that involves a lot of nature. The island is itself just terrifically beautiful. I enjoy hiking. I enjoy exploring new places. I'm particularly fond of the rugged East Coast. The cities there have a special kind of beauty that I've never experienced elsewhere. And I've recently begun to explore more distant places. I recently went to Orchid Island, or Lanyu, which is a small island off the East Coast with a very different kind of life and also a very kind of relaxed feeling, where I learned a lot about indigenous life in Taiwan, as well as the Taiwanese and more Mandarin-focused things that I knew here in Taiwan. So the whole experience of living here is constantly one of learning and exploring. It's been a lot of fun showing you around life in Taiwan and my daily life here in Taipei. Let's return to campus and look a little more at the research environment at NTU. When I had the chance to apply for a fellowship to come back to Taiwan, the choice of NTU as my research home was obvious. I've been coming to NTU now for 20 years. I actually started out as a language student. I was at the International Chinese Language Program, where I did my foundational work in Mandarin Chinese. And that actually was my introduction to academic life more broadly at NTU. That's where I first started coming to the NTU library and really where I started exploring Chinese sources in depth. The NTU library is the hub of everything that I'm doing. So the materials here are the ones that I'm using, and this is really the environment where I do my reading and my writing. And it's really an ideal research environment. NTU is at the center of a large intellectual community in kind of all aspects of the humanities here in Taipei and Taiwan more broadly, and with networks that reach out across East Asia. The research facilities as well are excellent. So many of the most important digital developments in my field are happening at NTU, and we also are building on long-standing research collections in the libraries and the museums here. So being a scholar at NTU and living in Taiwan has been really perfect for me, both in terms of an environment and as a place to do my research. Taiwan is a really kind, open society at the center of so many things that also brings together a real diversity of influences that makes it a very cosmopolitan environment. I've been coming here for 20 years and I still find things that I never would have imagined. And so I'm constantly exploring and digging, both in terms of my own personal life and my experience in Taiwan, but also in terms of my research. I could not recommend studying at National Taiwan University highly enough. It is a truly ideal research environment. And I think that's not just true for people like me who work on East Asia specific topics or on Taiwanese history or Chinese history. I think really for any humanist, the kind of cosmopolitan, transnational environment that NTU offers is truly ideal. Thank you so much for joining me for this. It's been exciting to share my life in Taiwan and the joys of my research here at National Taiwan University with you. Thank you so much. I hope to see you here.